Midnight Confessions Act 5. The courtroom was packed as the final day of the Hayes trial began. Sunlight filtered weakly through the rain-streaked windows, casting a gray pall over the polished wood panels. The air was thick with anticipation, each juror seated stiffly as if aware they were about to weigh a young man's entire future in their hands. Daniel Reeves sat beside Jordan Hayes, adjusting his cufflinks with practiced calm, the corners of his mouth tugging into a subtle grin. Spencer Creed observed quietly from the back, eyes scanning each juror for hints of sentiment, readiness, or doubt. The prosecutor, Miranda Vale, rose first, moving with the precision of a seasoned performer. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," she began, voice steady and commanding, "the evidence you have seen is clear. Mr. Hayes was near the scene of a violent crime, his statements have been inconsistent, and he was anxious when found. This young man's presence at the time of Mr. Carter's death cannot be ignored. The victim's family deserves justice, and you have the responsibility to deliver it." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "We have circumstantial evidence, footprints, proximity, and witness accounts. Each may not independently prove guilt, but together they form a compelling narrative. You must consider them carefully. Justice demands responsibility for those who commit violent acts." Daniel remained seated, arms resting lightly on the defense table, letting Vale's words linger. When he finally rose, the courtroom leaned forward as if sensing a shift in energy. His southern drawl carried warmth, authority, and a subtle humor that disarmed the tension instantly. "Ladies and gentlemen, the prosecution's story is a fine one, if only it were true. They've presented footprints, anxious behavior, and vague shadows as if any one of these alone, or combined, can convict a young man whose conscience is clear." He began to outline the defense meticulously. Jordan Hayes has provided a coherent, verified timeline. Surveillance footage from multiple blocks confirms his path. Independent witnesses corroborate his movements. The hooded figure seen fleeing the scene is taller, broader, and does not match Jordan's physical profile. Fingerprints on the pendant are inconclusive. No weapon is linked to him. No motive. No opportunity. Reasonable doubt is not merely a legal standard, it is the shield that protects the innocent from assumption and fear. Daniel paced slowly, letting his words sink in. "We are here because the prosecution wishes to fill gaps with suspicion, with shadows, with anxiety misread as guilt. But suspicion is not proof, shadows are not evidence, and nervousness does not equate to criminality. This young man's only crime is being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is not a crime at all." He called Spencer to the stand one final time to summarize the investigative findings. "We traced Jordan's steps," Spencer stated. "We verified CCTV footage, interviewed multiple witnesses, and compared physical evidence. There is no direct link between Mr. Hayes and the crime scene. The evidence that exists points elsewhere. This is not theory, it is fact." Daniel turned to the jury with a quiet intensity. "What you have seen is a clear example of how easy it is to mistake coincidence for guilt, shadows for criminals, and nervousness for evidence. Jordan Hayes is innocent, and your duty is to ensure the law protects him, as it protects all innocent citizens. He is not guilty. And the law, when followed with reason and care, will prove it." Vale attempted a rebuttal, emphasizing emotional appeal and the gravity of the victim's death. Daniel let her words fade into the silence, confident that the jury now had clarity. The judge called for the jury to deliberate. "Members of the jury, you have heard both sides. You will now retire to determine a verdict." The gavel struck once, echoing like a bell toll marking fate itself. Minutes stretched into hours. Outside, Brooklyn streets were slick with rain remnants, mist curling around streetlights, but inside, the courtroom held its breath. Daniel paced lightly, sipping coffee, while Spencer reviewed notes silently. Jordan sat quietly, tension coiled but faith growing with each passing minute. Finally, the jury filed back in, four-person standing. "We have reached a verdict, Your Honor." The voice was steady, measured, carrying weight in every word. The judge inclined his head. "Please read the verdict." The foreperson's voice resonated clearly. We, the jury, find the defendant, Jordan Hayes, not guilty on all counts. A collective exhale filled the room. Relief, disbelief, and quiet joy mingled in a delicate balance. Daniel leaned back, tipping his imaginary hat to the jury. Well, looks like justice has been served and the truth got its proper stage. Jordan's shoulders slumped as tears threatened and he murmured, I don't even know what to say. Daniel placed a steady hand on his shoulder. You don't have to say anything. Being free, knowing the truth is acknowledged, that's enough. Spencer gave a small nod, his eyes scanning the room for the subtle shifts in recognition and respect from colleagues, the prosecutor, and spectators alike. Vale, maintaining her composure, gave Daniel a brief, begrudging acknowledgement. The judge addressed Jordan. You are free to go. Court is adjourned. Gavel struck. The sound was final, resonant, like a promise kept. Outside the courthouse, Brooklyn seemed to exhale alongside Jordan. Rain-soaked streets shimmered in early afternoon light, cars reflected in puddles, and the hum of the city returned. Daniel, Spencer, and Jordan descended the steps together, the weight of the trial lifting with each step. Kids alive, evidence held, jury convinced. Good work, Spencer said quietly. Daniel grinned, hand resting lightly on Jordan's shoulder. Good? Spencer, we did better than good. We did justice, with a little southern charm of course. Jordan laughed, the sound shaky but genuine. I can finally breathe again. Daniel tipped an imaginary hat to the city skyline. And that, my friend, is what freedom feels like. Now go live your life. As the trio moved into the bustling streets, Daniel's mind was already racing toward the next case, the next challenge, and the next truth waiting to be unveiled. But for now, Jordan Hayes was free, justice had prevailed, and the shadows that haunted Monroe Street had finally lifted. The gavel struck one last time in memory, leaving echoes of truth, relief, and triumph lingering long after the courtroom emptied.